internet land. You know what? I was watching this video this morning about a lake over in Europe. I could not believe my eyes. Just check this out for a second here. Now look at this. See that? Here, let me get it going a little bit. We don't have to show too much of it. Hang on, turn that off. See that? I'm like, whenever I saw that, I thought, why in the world would anybody build a a cross, a monument like that in the middle of a lake? And that lake, it is all polluted from runoff from a copper mine. See, look at all that. Oh man, here, let me see if I can find this. Yeah, I mean, this is incredible. Look at that. It's not only incredible, it's horrifying in my humble opinion. Okay, see that church right there? That's the steeple we were looking at. At first, I thought it was a monument, but then later I found out no, that is the what's left sticking up from that church. That whole lake has been filled up, well, that whole valley actually, because I mean, it used to not be there. That whole thing filled up with toxic sludge from a copper mine. Now, the thing about it is, they said that was done under or started up under Ceausescu, like he's like some kind of a dictator. According to them, he was like totally incompetent. He was meddling in everything, but I guess he was like, he must not have been all that good of a planner or something, or he just didn't figure things out well enough for people to actually do anything good. So they made that copper mine over there, and you look it up. This video is, um, if this dam fails, it pollutes half of Europe, and it's on What on Earth Is This channel on YouTube. So go over there and check it out. I'm kind of having me a little toke on my duber. But anyway, yeah, so that was all filled up to the brim, toxic sludge out of that coal mine. I mean, pardon me, out of that copper mine. And then they let it back up and back up. See, they said it's like this area right there was like really rich in copper. So right there, see. But the thing about it is, was the percentage of copper in the ore was so low that here we wouldn't even consider it economically viable to mine. But they like skipped all kinds of environmental safeguards and all kinds of stuff like that, which doing that made it profitable, and then ended up filling up that valley full of toxic sludge. I mean, it's terrible. Um, let me see if I find another picture of. Oh yeah, look at here. Here, I'll turn this around a little bit again. Hey, there's yeah. And see that's like what it's running off of. You can see like this mound, like right there. That's like the mine, and then this here is like the the runoff. My finger was causing it to get out of focus. But so now the government there later wanted to make a gold mine not very far away from this mess. And to do that, they would have to use cyanide to leach the gold out. The people, they had it up to here with that stuff because of this other mine and protested like crazy. And that gold mine was canceled and they turned it into like a World Heritage Site because there's historic stuff there, which that kind of bothers me too because they were willing to just go ahead and plow over a bunch of historic stuff too. But So, and that tells me something I think is kind of important. And the people, they all got together and put their voices in there, and they stopped another environmental disaster. But on the other hand, you had this copper mine that was allowed to go through because of authoritarians and stuff, and it ruined the environment. So the big difference between the two is one of them, the voice of the people was not ever there, that copper mine. And the other one, the voice of the people was there, that gold mine. The gold mine was stopped, the copper mine was not. See, so you got to have the voice of the people. That's why I support democracy, in government and in the workplace. Because if you had democracy in the workplace, all that stuff wouldn't be going on, and in government, and nonpartisanship, and an educated population. I mean, hell, education is the foundation. Education is the foundation of civilization. And democracy should be right on there, and nonpartisanship, co-determination. Because, like in this, people will say, like, oh, that wasn't like what you're saying it is. That was, what do they call it? Socialistic capitalism or some bullshit like that. When it wasn't. Or dictatorial socialism. Anyway, they'll try to blame it on socialism. But the thing about it is in socialism, if there isn't like employee representatives up there and up in the management boardroom and stuff, then it ain't socialism, because socialism has to have democracy in the workplace, or it ain't socialism. So don't let them give you that boogeyman about like, oh, that Ceausescu, his socialist government, they did that. It was socialism, blah, blah, blah. No, no, no. That was state capitalism done that. Don't let them fool you. They've been trying to pull that boogeyman for, well, they have been successfully since right after World War II. How do you like my little house robe? My sister gave me this last Christmas, and it is just so nice and warm. I love it. I got a good sister. But yeah, so like that copper mine there, I don't know what they're going to do about it, because this fella that was talking about this, he said that that environmental damage is so bad. Look at that you can't do anything about it. He said if you stop pumping the stuff in there, all the crap or like some kind of stuff that deacidifies will stop going in, and then the lake will get even more acidified, which will cause this dam to break. Let me see if I can find a picture of that dam over here. Which caused this dam to break, and then what happens? It causes an environmental flood, disaster, flooding through like that whole area. I'll find it in a second here. And hang on, that's a second. Yeah, so oh, here it is, right here. Here's a good picture of it. All right, see that? That's the dam, right? So if that thing gave way, all that sludge, all that crap is going to flood down all the way down into like down, all the way downstream, ruining shit for miles. So, I mean, it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, letting this stuff go on and on like that for all them years. They should have had the people in there with their voices going in the first place. That town that is now underneath the bottom of all that sludge, and graves too. They wanted the folks. They wanted to get the bodies out of the graves in the cemetery there, and they wouldn't even let them do that. So now, according to that fella, all those bodies and everything, they have totally been like dissolved because of all that acid. It creates sulfuric acid. So just everything in there just totally liquefied and dissolved. So I mean, that's totally disrespecting the people because people they love um their folks that were buried down there and wanted to take them and put them somewhere else, and they didn't give a shit about their land or nothing. So we got a lot of that kind of stuff going on all around the world. I can look out this front window here in my house and I can see a copper mine. It's the Chino copper mine in southern New Mexico. I can see it plain as day. It's been there for 100 years, probably longer, because the native inhabitants they were getting copper from around here from way ancient time. I've even found like native copper in my backyard. But we've got all kinds of environmental regulations to go by because we're a democracy. They can't just start doing stuff and throwing. They're trying to make it where they can, right? The Republicans, but they can't just start like poisoning our groundwater willy nilly like that, like what they did over there, because the people has a voice in it. But the people don't have enough voice in it because, like that Chino copper mine, it's it's owned by a giant corporation. The corporation needs to have employee of representatives on the corporate boardroom, and that way you make sure environmental disasters don't happen or they are less likely. You make sure people get paid properly and aren't kicked to the street if they get ill, stuff like that. And got proper medical care, safe working conditions, because unions aren't enough. I was looking at something. It's called the National Co-Determin. Excuse me. That's what I want. National Co-Determination. It's called the National Right to Work Law. You should look it up because that thing they are trying to, the right to work laws. They are trying to make it where there's a national right to work law that just I mean, it just screw everybody up here. Let me see. Right here it is. I'll show you it. It is 19 USC 157. Let me turn my thing around here. All right, there it is. See, look that up because they are trying to make it where you can get fired for any old reason at will. You don't got no rights. Oh man, I was going through it and had us striking certain sections out of it, like 158A3 of the title, just basically gutting it where, like, the way they always do. Um, that there can be a union there. You don't have to pay union dues, but yet the union still has to represent you. See what they're trying to do? They're trying to defund unions to where they're just non-existent because they don't care about you. They don't care about your rights. They've been trying to get rid of unions for ages. Ever since feudalism, they've been trying to get rid of guilds. Guilds were the first unions. And all those corporate charters back in like the age of exploration with the Hudson Bay Company and all that, that was the first corporation. See, so all the stuff that we got now is just a evolution from all that. So now they're trying to get rid of your your basic employment rights. Okay, and they tried to screw me. A company I worked with, they tried to screw me with the right to work law because I was working for an aircraft company down in Alabama, in southern Alabama. And one day I was shooting some rivets, and all of a sudden I heard pop in my left elbow. I mean, left shoulder. And what had happened is some ligaments had popped off of the freaking bone, and it didn't feel too good. So they sent me to the doctor, and then I went back to work with a light duty excuse. And they kept trying to get me to do stuff that, like, a lot of half the stuff on the airplane you have to look up, because you have the top part of the aircraft, you look down to work on it, right? You got the bottom of the airplane, you look up to work on it. So they kept giving me stuff where I had to look up, right, underneath the wing. So I'm having to lift that left arm up there, and it's like, oh God, I could only do it for like a couple seconds because it hurts so bad. So finally, I'm like, I told the lead man, hey, I got to go to the doctor, man, because this is just paining like crazy. And he's like, well, yeah, man, I wanted you to get in there and do this job in the cargo pit. Like, bro, I'm going. So I went, and yeah, they found out I had the popped ligaments. They had to get sewn back on. But see, they didn't give a shit about me because they still wanted me to work, even though I had popped ligaments in my shoulder. So then they gave me like another excuse to go back to work under a restricted duty. Oh, well, didn't you know you've been let go? I'm like, what? Because I came back 3 days later, like I was supposed to, and I'm laid off. So I go down there to the HR, and they said that I was laid off for poor performance. Poor performance. I busted ligaments in my shoulder, and they're laying me off for poor performance using right to work laws to do it. And it's so funny about that poor performance because all the time I was in aircraft, I was one of the top guys. Whenever they had a problem over there, they came to me to get it solved. Whenever other people were screwing shit up, they came to me to get it done right the first time. Oh, but we're going to fire him for poor performance because he busted his friggin' shoulder and is now as a liability. He's going to be collecting workers' comp and everything. And I did collect workers' comp. And you know what else I did? I sued their ass and I got a lot of money out of them for wrongful termination because you can't just fire somebody because of the Americans with Disabilities Act. You can't fire someone for getting hurt like that, right? But they're trying to undermine all that, and that's why they make this here 19 USC 157 right of employees as to organization, which is right to work laws. They tried to make it sound so pretty. Oh, you got a right to quit for any old reason. We won't hold it against you. It's right to work. And we have a right to fire you for any old reason, and you can't hold that against us. But the thing about it is if you get fired for any reason, they keep a record of it, and then when you go apply for another job, they're going to call that employer and find out. Dig it? So it ain't a right to work. It's a right to get your ass canned for nothing, or for the slightest little excuse or anything that violates your human rights and your dignity. So that they don't care. That's why we need to have work. We need to have labor on the freaking corporate boardroom. There you go. But anyway, that's what I got for you. Ranting and raving about all that. I'll rant and rave another day. So we'll see you later. Everybody have a good Tuesday and don't take no wooden nickels.